But my name when I lived in Fairport was Janice Bradley. My mother, my dad's 3 sisters, and my 3 sisters and I all went to Harding High. That happened with other families as well. We had 2 families, the Kapistashis, and they each had 12 kids in their family. So people couldn't remember who you were necessarily, but they'd say, "Are you part of the Bradley family?" I was very, very happy to say, yes, I am. I had a good family. I had a good town. It was safe. A wonderful place for a child to grow up. In your teenage years, some people complain there wasn't enough dancing and stuff like that to do. But that wasn't my thing until later on in my life, when at 50 to 60 years old, I learned rock and roll and I danced sometimes 7 nights a week. It was great. I first, when I went to high school here, I belonged to groups. I was very active in sports. Any sport there was, I would be in it. I was on the school council, sadly, because a friend of mine got kicked off the student council for something that was done. I was also a member of the Girls Athletic Association, the choir, the marching band, the concert band. My advice to you is, while you're at this stage, try everything you can. It'll tell you whether you like something or you don't like something. I graduated in 1966, a class of 48 students, and I went on to go to Ohio University, and some of my friends came from classes of 1,000 graduating. I wasn't sure I was going to settle into that kind of competition, but it worked. I'm pretty social, and I'm also pretty handy at a lot of things. One thing I would advise you, if you're going to go on to university, is make sure you take typing. It is an excellent thing. Many of my friends even asked me to do typing for them, but also, I wasn't sure how great the education was. If they were in a school that had maybe 3 or 4 languages to teach, and I had Latin to choose from. But it was very important because it made me grow up to be in part of a big group. At university, I was part of the student government in my dormitory, and my last year I was the president. I had several jobs, and one of those jobs was answering the telephone and plugging in cords to go to different rooms, rooms in the dorm. Wasn't much money, but my parents were paying for my education. I didn't have a job that paid enough. Boys were luckier in those days. Some of the summer jobs, they were able to get paid 3-4 times as much as the girls could get. I wanted to make sure I achieved for what they had given up to allow me to go to university. I got a lot of experience. I knew when I was 12 years old. I can remember the time I was in McKinley School, standing near the swings, and I saw someone working with a group of kids, and they confirmed the fact that I really enjoyed working with kids and that I wanted to be a teacher. I thought I wanted to be a phys ed teacher. Guess what? I ended up not teaching phys ed. I ended up teaching special education. That can be for many reasons: physically impaired, intellectually impaired, autistic. My area was for mentally retarded students. I had to do my degree, and I had to do a minor. My major was elementary education. My minor was library science because I thought it would be good for me for research purposes. It didn't work out as well as I thought, but I still think I'd recommend it. And also I had to do 7 other courses. How how to teach math to special needs children, how to teach English to special needs children, and on all of them I had to do that extra one, and that's how I didn't get any degree or anything. It was called a certification pattern. My first job, I was really lucky. I applied to teach in Columbus, and that was many people wanted to teach in Columbus because many of the women were putting their husbands through their master's degree, and so jobs were scarce. But I got up there and I did get a job in special ed. I stayed at that job in a junior high school for 4 years. Special ed is different now. I had 21 students in a class, probably the size of these two classes, these two rooms. They were 12 to 16-year-olds, and they were like, some of them were 6 foot plus, and others, and we were known, if you weren't a very good kid in the school, if you did something silly, they were called, they'd call you a 301er, because that was special ed. Well, we changed that. I got a classroom and it was number 1. Doesn't sound very threatening if you say, oh, you're a 1. It took away that stigma that the kids had at that stage. When I was teaching, the lady whose place I took, she went from teaching 21 special education junior high school kids. They wouldn't let her quit. She wanted to teach a regular year because I also did. She wanted to find out, what is the norm for year 7s? What is the norm for year 8s? What are the other kids studying? What do I need to prepare them for high school? Anyway, I was very happy with my change. When I went to university, at Ohio University, one of the things was, I worked at a diagnostic clinic. It was called Ohio University Mental Retardation Diagnostic Clinic. Long name, small team. I was hired to do anything that they needed. They were doctors and psychiatrists and nurses and educators and all kinds of people on the staff. Not all kinds, we only had 12 professional staff. But I got to work with people. Another thing happened that was very interesting though. When I first went in and I was talking about applying for the job, it was for Appalachian, Ohio, and I'm not sure if you know, but Appalachian, Ohio is like from where Ohio University is down to the southern border. This grandparent brought this little boy in. He was about 6 or 7. He walked over, didn't say a thing, sat on the secretary's desk. She had just finished taking out a letter that she'd written and she made a mistake on it. He sat there, typed it up with the same mistake. He could not speak very well. He could not read. And he was special. He was very special. And that made me want to teach something different, not just regular ed. It made me want to do something where I could make a big change. In my job, I don't just teach. I help parents who are having difficulties. One might say, we're gonna treat, this is gonna be the behavior we expect, and the other parent would do something different. Sometimes they needed counseling, and I would either counsel them myself or I would arrange for a counselor for them. And that was also a very important part. It's tough to be a kid that's special and you feel like you're disappointing people that you love, and that happens sometimes. And so it's a whole ball game.
Can you tell us about yourself?
Yes, my name is Steve Fazekas. I grew up in Fairport with my twin brother, Stan. We were sports crazy. Stan was a football and basketball star. I was a basketball star and ran track and did some football. I graduated from Kent State University in education. I moved down to Orlando, Florida at a young age and finished my teaching career in Orlando. After 28 years, I had the chance to take a full retirement. And my wife and children, my wife is French, so we wanted to have the children have experienced the French culture, and we moved to France. I've been in France 23 years now. I'm very happy there. I ran a golf course for a while, but mostly I was a professional golf teacher for a while, but I changed to amateur golf so that I could compete. The French amateur golf system is very impressive. We have a lot of competitions and do it. And I'm back. I love visiting the hometown of Florida in Fairport. And what I love about America so much is everybody's so friendly. It's amazing. French people are nice, but they just aren't friendly. Like, I go into Taco Bell, anywhere, they're just, Ohio people rock, like them.
What was your accomplishments at Fairport that got you into the Hall of Fame?
I think it was Fairport and other things too. In Fairport, I was a very good basketball player. I scored over 1,000 points in my career before the three-point shot came in, and we were playing against teams like Menor and Conneaut, and we were playing bigger schools at that time. And that was my accomplishment here. But then I had a very successful teaching career, and I was active in the implementation of school board policies in a very big area. I ran for school board in Orange County, Florida. I got 37,000 votes and lost. And then finally, I'm in amateur golf. I'm a Brittany senior champion. We've won an international golf tournament as a team. I hold the club. I, with a partner, hold the club scramble record for 2 and 4 people. So golf was the other thing.
Tell us your favorite memory in being a skipper.
Teammates, you play, you get a lot of individual honors. I was lucky enough, I was in the paper often and celebrated because I scored a lot of points. But you think back at the people that you played with, the memories you made on a team. Sometimes when you're that age, you don't realize it, but as you get older, you look back and you understand what it meant to you.
Is there anything else that you haven't told us that you would like us to know?
You're lucky to grow up in a town like Fairport. And maybe at your age, you don't know that what it is. You think it's dinky or something. It's not. It's a place you'll remember forever. You're going to make some friends right now at this age that are going to impact you your whole life. And I want you to know that you should be proud to be Americans, but you should also know people are the same all over the world. I've traveled the world. People are the same. They love their families. They try to take care of other people. It's a good life. Live it well.
Bill Alto. I graduated in 1967. Like many of you, I wanted to get out of Fairport after I graduated, so I did. Actually, the day after I graduated, I got on a ship in the harbor and went to work. and then went off to college, then medical school, and then I did a 3-year residency in what they call family medicine in Massachusetts. Taking advice of one of my bosses, I left the country, and I was gone for 13 years, working mostly in the Pacific, New Guinea, Micronesia, small islands. At one point I was the only doctor on an island. At one point I was one of 2 doctors in a province in the middle of New Guinea that had 250,000 people. And it was just myself and this other guy who was a new graduate. After 13 years overseas, my family was getting old. My wife's family health wasn't all that good, and we came back to the U.S. And then I started teaching. I taught medicine for the rest of my career in Colorado, then 17 years in Maine, and then I finished off in Seattle. My daughter got me there because she was a doctor, and she trained in Seattle. And then I retired, and I retired to Hawaii, and here I am back in the States just visiting friends, and for some reason I ended up here too. So, here I am.
Sure. What was your accomplishments that got you inducted into the Hall of Fame?
My accomplishment, when?
What was your accomplishments that got you inducted into the Fairport Hall of Fame?
Oh, yeah, I suppose a number of those things. I don't think it was anything exceptional I did in high school. I played football, I was on the yearbook staff, I was at the student council. I certainly wasn't first or even second in my class. So, I don't know if I made any great mark here. But then, I had a lot of fun overseas, and my whole career was pretty much working with underserved people. Rural poor in Maine, Native American Indians in Seattle, and then overseas, really remote, the most remote areas I probably could find. So, maybe that. And I had friends. I kept my friends, and they remembered me, and somebody nominated me.
Tell us your favorite memory in being a skipper.
We beat Harvey 2 years in a row, my junior and my senior year. And when we did that, they hadn't beaten Harvey in 13 years in football. And we beat them 2 years in a row when I was playing center, as I told you.
Is there anything else you haven't told us that you would like us to know?
No, I'm a good storyteller. I can tell you lots of stories, but I don't want to bore you either. But I'll tell you one story. I was in New Guinea. Remember, I'm a family doc. I was trained to do outpatient medicine. And a fellow came in with an arrow in his heart because the Papua New Guineans would fight with each other with bows and arrows and axes. So he had an arrow in his heart. I went and saw him in the hospital that night. I admitted him. And I told him I'll take it out in the morning. He says, good, have you ever done that? No, I've never done that before. No. Operated on somebody's chest. So he was reading the Bible, and I encouraged him that he should read it overnight. In the morning, we opened up his chest and took out the arrow and sewed him back up, and he went home happily. So that was the most exciting thing I probably did. It's a good story, isn't it? Fun to be back. It's been a long, long time since I sat on the stage. I guess graduating. It's nice to be here now. I'm a little bit cold. You've heard I live in Hawaii, and it's a little bit cooler here. And maybe for the first time in a long time, I'm wearing shoes. And I'm not wearing my swimsuit. I have 6 swimsuits. So, how did I get there? Well, you heard I went through this. I grew up in Fairport. I was born in Painesville, grew up in Fairport, visited my family, my father's family, go back in years. Like many of you, when I finished my senior year, my goal was to get out of town. And fortunately for me, that night after my graduation, I had a phone call to be on the boats the next day, so I took a great job, made lots of money, paid my way through college, medical school. After I finished my residency in Massachusetts in family medicine, one of my teachers said to me, "You want to leave the country?" So I did. And I went to spent 13 years overseas working in a number of different countries. Longest time, 6 years in Papua New Guinea, 3 years out in Indonesia in the North Pacific. Then I came back and I became an educator, a teacher, taught grades 21 through 23. So if you're a senior here, grade 12, college would be grade 16, medical school would be grade 20, and then after medical school you do your internship and your residency, and that's where I was a teacher for the rest of my career. So 13 years overseas, I guess that leaves me 27 years as a teacher. I retired a few years ago to Hawaii. It seemed like a nice place to be, nice and warm, pleasant, all the while. So, when I think all through my life I figured I wanted to work with the underserved. It's an easy job to do if you're a doctor. It's one of the people who need doctors. And it's a nice career. For nursing or other things in medicine kind of give you the same opportunities I had was to travel. If you're willing to work in other places and face a challenge as a physician, you can certainly find challenges and have a lot of fun. Since I came back teaching, if I look into my contracts every year that I got a month off to go work overseas. So I've always kept one foot, usually in the Pacific, but I've worked in 17 different countries as a physician or as a medical educator. But it's nice to be back. The thing that, what do you tell a bunch of students, trying to think of what I would tell you, what did I learn from Fairport? Well, Fairport, of course, I grew up with everybody. Most of the kids in my class I had spent 13 years with, kindergarten through senior high. And I made a lot of friendships. And I'm back here today because of the friendships I made. And I went to a different school. My friends have been scattered. They've not all been around. There's still quite a few of my friends here. In fact, I see at least one in the audience. Who used to be a quarterback when I was the center long ago on a football team. The thing about being a doctor is you have the opportunity to go work almost anywhere. You have to be willing to work nights. I took 40 years of night call, which meant that for 40 years I didn't really get out of bed. It was probably about every fourth night I'd have to get up. A student would call me, a resident would call me and would say, well, this is what I'm doing, it's 20 minutes later, she's going to deliver. Can you come in and be there to help me? And I'd come in and get a bench, sit on my hands, and be patient and see how they did, and understand if I really had to. A little bit of advice, I guess, might be of some use here. In thinking about my classmates and thinking about this school, I think back to when I worked in Maine. I was 17 years teaching. I started a program to treat women who were pregnant and were addicted to opiates. I know I heard plenty about opiate addiction in Maine. It was particularly a big problem. And we had a lot of people dying. And we had a lot of pregnant women, most of whom their boyfriend or their husband got them started on opiates. Addiction is something that's worth thinking about even at your age, because this is when it starts. And I had a football coach who was also a health educator back in those days, Chet. I remember seeing the first day in class, 7th grade, Chet. He said, look around the class. He says, 120 of you is going to be in a mental hospital. So, who's going to be? I don't know. But he didn't say that 1 in 10 of you is going to be addicted to something one day. tobacco. I won't be seeing any of them. They're gone. Okay. Really, it's quite serious. Everyone who was smokers in my class would die. Those who became addicted to alcohol, one of my very good friends, he too is dead from addiction. We're not going to talk about too much about opiates. You can imagine the difficulty there, the difficulty of being pregnant, worrying about where your life, your baby's life is going to end up. So, remember this, I guess, like I remember what Chet told me about the mental hospital. 1 in 10 of you is going to have a serious problem. You may know who it is now, or you may see it coming, but it may go ahead and be something in your life. So, think a little bit about that when you're out partying on the weekends. So I'll leave you with that. No, it'd be pleasant, hopefully helpful for some of you. And I'm happy to see that some things haven't changed too much in their work. And I'll wish you all the best.
I'm Ernie Pouttu, 1973, 50 years ago, graduate of Fairport Harding High School. I went all my McKinley High School, Harding High School, spent my whole growing up years here in Fairport Harbor, Ohio. My father passed away when I was in 3rd grade. I had a sister in 9th grade, one in 12th grade, so obviously it was a different environment for me than for some of my friends, but my friends were great. And this town was great, really treated me well, looked after me, made sure I grew up properly. I went to Kent State, got a degree in accounting, went to work for a large accounting firm, 7 years there. Then I left to go to one of my clients, and I've been there for 39 years. So right now I'm the president and chief executive officer of this company, headquartered in Akron, Ohio. It's called Harlan Standard Distribution Corp. We have 60 employees. I view them all as important. I've run 73 marathons, so I'm pretty active. I've done bike rides from Washington, D.C. to Pittsburgh. It's 350 miles. Tomorrow I have a 100-mile bike ride riding from Cleveland to New Philadelphia, which is south, obviously like 100 miles south of Cleveland. Been married for, better remember this one, don't quote this, since 1981. You guys can figure out how long that was. Then I have a son who's 35, he lives in Boston, he teaches filmmaking at Boston University. I have a daughter who's 30, soon to be 31. She got her doctor of physical therapy. She's a physical therapist in Southern California. And the clinic she works at deals with a lot of professional and amateur athletes. So they're both doing good, so I'm proud of them. Proud of the athletic things I've done. While in high school, I did a little bit of sports. I was senior class president. I ran track 1 year, did wrestling 4 years, and worked as student janitor, was senior class president, on and on. So hopefully that gives you a lowdown on me.
Yes, that's good.
What was some accomplishments that got you inducted into the Fairport Hall of Fame?
I don't know, because I wasn't in the meeting, so I don't know what it is. I'm very involved with the Akron community. I've been on the boards of Leadership Akron, Akron Civic Theater. I'm currently on the board of Akron Community Foundation. Been involved with Boys and Girls Club. Been involved with the University of Akron, Greater Akron Chamber. So as one individual, the executive director of the Akron Civic Theater, told me that, Ernie, he's everywhere. So maybe I somewhat am. So I think my community service, what I've done for our community, I've been a volunteer at our golf tournament, professional golf tournament in Akron for 44 years. I do a lot of things. I've run every Akron Marathon. They've had 20 so far. Done every one.
Okay. Tell us your favorite memory of being a skipper.
Oh, boy. When did
I
you
got
tell
a
me you were
lot.
going to ask that one? You know, it's just so many things. I'd say just the teachers, you know, the teachers were down to earth, really related to the students well. My classmates. So, favorite memory. I guess just being on the wrestling team, being part of that, riding on the bus. I was in the band too. I played in the concert and marching bands for 3 years, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So being part of the band and competing, because we would compete in concert band. That was a lot of fun.
Is there anything else that you would like to let us know that you haven't let us know yet?
Well, I tend to read a lot, as you can, and you know, so I try to read a book a month. It's hard when you're in school to do that, but I may go back and read some of the books that my English teachers didn't make me read. So I may do that, like Moby Dick or Heart of Darkness or something like that. I may try to read some of those. You know, again, what was the question? Oh, as far as, you know, I golf, I love music. I'm what I guess you'd call a jam band fan. You know, my son's taken me to Fish. I've seen the Grateful Dead a few times. So I like live music. I can see live music. I can go to the symphony. I can go to a bluegrass concert, rock concert. Admittedly, I'm not a fan of heavy metal, but I like folk, bluegrass, jam band, and even some orchestral.